So I'm going to try and overcome my technological challenge here and get a presentation going. Bear with me just 1 second while I get this started here. While I'm doing that, let's do a quick sound check. I've got two colleagues here, Michael and Julie. You have access to the microphone too?
I'm on, Keith.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me okay, everybody?
Yeah, good. Thank you. All right, guys, 1 second. Okay, Tim, if you would confirm for me that the PowerPoint slide is showing.
You are good. Full screen too. Nice work.
Oh. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that great introduction. And you actually, you probably could have done a couple of these slides yourself with that presentation. I appreciate it. And Dawn, if you're still on, thanks for that. We appreciate the legal update, the conference update. The information on 911 and infrastructure funding is just great stuff. We appreciate that very much. So hello, everybody. My name's Keith Staveros. I am from RapidSOS. And as Tim said, for the last several years, we've been offering this free service to 911 centers across the country and even globally. But yeah, many of you, I've come into your center and said, hey, I have this product for free, and it seemed incredulous, just like Tim said. And we just want to talk about what it is we do for you at no charge. So we're going to just kind of launch into it. But first, I want to introduce you to a couple other people that are going to co-present with me today. The first one is Michael Nodar-Stefano. Michael is new to the company. He's been here about 6 weeks, and he is our customer success manager. And I wish I could have gotten the notice out sooner to let you all know he's going to be taking over California for me. So after today and moving forward, I will be responsible for the greater Northwest. So I still have 4 states that I get to serve, and I'm going to miss being ever present in California, but we have relationships, right? So you can always contact me, those of you with whom I've got ongoing projects. Those will not falter, but I want to just give Michael a chance to say hello and greet you all. Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. And it's a pleasure just being here with all you guys. My name is Michael Nodar-Stefano. I am the new customer success manager for the state of California, as Keith mentioned. I'm based in San Diego, California, and started my public safety career in 2015, originally working as a police officer with San Diego PD, and then transitioned into dispatch as a police dispatcher. And most recently, before RapidSOS, worked for Central Square Technologies in a couple of customer-facing roles. Julie.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having us today, and happy Telecommunicators Week. My name is Julie Berthelot. I am from Washington State, and I'm the Western Region Manager for RapidSOS. So I started my own kind of beginnings back in public safety back in 2008 in law enforcement and as a 911 dispatcher in Central Washington. Went on to spend the last almost 5 years traveling the country working for Motorola Solutions. And I had the privilege to work alongside other 911 dispatchers in PSAPs in many of our 50 states, coming on board with RapidSOS just last December. So I really couldn't be more excited about our product and our mission here at RapidSOS. And we're really excited to share that with you today. So Keith's going to go ahead and start us off with an agenda and an explanation of the 911 challenge. Keith, over to you.
Thanks, Julie, Michael. Yeah, folks, those are two just outstanding, really knowledgeable people that you can reach out to at any time with any questions about RapidSOS and how we can help you in your center moving forward. So a couple housekeeping things. First of all, the agenda. We've done the introductions, but I'm going to just speak another moment about the challenge before we launch into the data platform that we provide for free and how you can access the data platform through partner integrations, meaning your existing equipment in your centers, and through our free over-the-top browser-based solutions called RapidSOS Portal and Jurisdiction View. And then what advantage Jurisdiction View gives you for situational awareness in outages And if we have time, we're going to launch into and discuss the free information we provide you through these different tools around additional data beyond just location data that comes from the device. There's so much more life-saving information that we can give. And at the very end, some Q&A. So save up your questions, if you will. Julie and Michael are going to kind of monitor the chat. And if there's any questions in there that they can respond to digitally or textually, they will do that. But we'll have some Q&A at the end. So let's launch into it. So here's the challenge as we see it. And years and years ago, ever since 911 was conceived, and when we started getting cell phone data, we didn't even have an alley to look at back then. And then in the mid 90s, we finally started getting alley data, which was phase 1 only, which essentially phase 1 is just a tower location, undispatchable. And even when we moved on to phase 2 location, the location was slow to arrive and it was not very dependable. So all you have is this verbal confirmation with the caller. And it slowed the process, trying to find out where these events were occurring. And the data that comes in the alley, and this is why I'm showing this, and these alleys are limited to 512 characters, not even 512 characters of data is all we get. And it's highly parsed. Most of that data is reserved for certain functions. Phone number has to be where it is. The carrier has to be where it is. The address is where it is, and it can't be changed. So there's these limitations that really handcuffed us as an industry. And we as a company recognized this, and we sought out a solution. So we entered into a partnership with Apple and Google and Uber and many, many other companies to provide data. But the Apple and Google piece is the most important because those devices, smartphones, have embedded in them, in their operating system, the ability to send RapidSOS location right at the onset of a 911 call. And we know that those devices are sending location immediately, they're sending it accurately, and they are giving us an opportunity to see so much more life-saving data. So we go from having 512 characters of highly parsed, sometimes not very effective data, to this digital reservoir of data that we can provide to you without limitation. And because it's digital and because it comes through the internet, through browsers, and it's all HTTP, we can formulate it, or we can form it and make the user interface look and do anything we want. And now all of a sudden we've entered this era of rich data. And it's changing outcomes. It's been doing this for several years, and it's just getting better and better as we're able to provide more and more data for you. So that's kind of the background of it. And we've constructed our company in such a way where we don't monetize from you. We monetize through our partnerships with the data providers, starting with Google, Apple, Uber, and others. And that's how we're able to do this. So when we say we provide these services for free, we're not kidding. And it's our passion that we continue to do this at no cost for you. So enough of that. I want to hand it over to Julie, who's going to talk to you about what our emergency response data platform is. And Julie, it's yours.
All right, thank you so much, Keith. All right,
Yeah.
so what is RapidSOS? A lot like Keith was saying, we provide rich data and enhanced location to over 5,000 plus 911 centers at absolutely no cost to public safety via our secure web portal. So we're an over-the-top end-to-end solution which receives location and other relevant emergency data from smartphones, apps, and other IoT or Internet of Things devices like connected cars, wearables, smart homes, connected buildings, et cetera. And we securely send that relevant data to 911 and first responders via the RapidSOS portal. Next slide, please. So in this slide here, the diagram shows that the traditional workflow of emergency call routing is not going to be affected. We don't aim with our portal, we don't aim to replace or change any of your existing call routing or call handling procedures. We're just an extra tool that can streamline and simplify processes. So when the emergency call is placed from the mobile device, the call still routes through the traditional workflow that you're used to, shown on the top of the diagram, which it involves the closest cell tower, triangulating location, determining the carrier, selecting the appropriate ECC to take the 911 call. That all still happens. But in the bottom portion of the diagram, you can see that when the mobile device makes the native call to 911, because we are embedded in Apple and Android's operating systems, the location information is flowing directly into the RapidSOS portal, which is a standards compliant LAS and ADR. And because of the simplicity of this process, many call centers are actually going to see the call pinning in the RapidSOS portal seconds before the call ever rings into the ECC. Next slide, please. The enhanced location that we offer, that accuracy of these calls coming in RapidSOS portal is based on what we call DBH, or device-based hybrid location. And so it's highly accurate and reliable indoors and outdoors based on factors and features that are inside the device already, and also other things around it like Bluetooth beacons, Wi-Fi access points. It's going off your GPS and your pedestrian dead reckoning in your cell phone. And it's also providing information at times like barometric, using the barometric pressure sensor to provide altitude reading or Z-axis. Next slide, please. All right, accessing the RapidSOS platform. Michael's going to expand in just a moment on partner integrations, but you can access the RapidSOS portal in several ways. And the number one way of those is by logging into our secure freestanding web portal via web browser. And then also though via partner integrations, which again, Michael's going to take next. We just want to really highlight the necessity of using the partner integrations in addition to the web portal, because roughly 95% of the life-saving and really relevant data that we provide in addition to location is going to only come in through the portal. So those integrations often provide just location, or they might be treated a little bit differently. But Michael, go ahead and expand on that for us, please.
Sure. Thank you, Julie. So RapidSOS partners with many tier 1, 2, and 3 public safety software technology providers. And this really allows ECCs to access limited RapidSOS platform data through CAD or other CPE platforms like 911 and call logging software. I just want to point out the caveat that having a RapidSOS portal account is a requirement in order to go in and log in and request those credentials for any integrations that you might be interested in. Next slide. Just want to pause here for a few seconds. This is just a limited list of some of the major public safety software vendors that we do partner with. And really just want to drive home the point that RapidSOS is integrated into every major public software safety vendor. And each integration treats RapidSOS data a little differently. Some are what we call IRP, meaning that they're integrated rapid portal and will launch the RapidSOS portal in a separate browser window straight from something like your CAD system. And other integrations are solely API based, meaning they may only offer location data or other limited information. And again, as you can see on the slide here, we've broken down those different public safety partners and integration partners based on CPE software types of CAD system, 911, and recording software and things like that. And passing it back to you, Julie.
Thanks, Michael. All right, so you guys saw just a couple real basic slides of kind of what the integrations can look like there, and at least the first slide before we got into the logos there. But remember that the RapidSOS portal is a free web-based solution, and it's the one and only place where you can get all that additional information that's available in addition to the enhanced location you're receiving through your partner integration. So the portal, again, is accessible just by a standard internet browser. It doesn't require any hardware to be installed in your comm center and your server racks. We don't require any software to be downloaded. It can be accessed inside and outside the physical comm center. So whether it's a supervisor at home on the weekends, checking into an emerging situation or in a tactical situation, in a 911 outage or emergency comm evacuation, we are accessible from anywhere, unlike other solutions that are limited not only to the brick and mortar piece out, but sometimes to the physical workstation and that one phone system that's accessing the 911 call. Next slide, please. All right, so who is eligible here? So RapidSOS is available to both primary and secondary agencies. Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion over those terms, but essentially law, fire, and EMS agencies, whether they're primary or secondary, are eligible for the portal. And while sometimes secondary agencies, they have to query or search for location manually by the phone number, primary law enforcement dispatch agencies are eligible for jurisdiction view. You can sign up at rapidsosportal.com and you can work with our RM and our CSM team to determine which access that your agency qualifies for. Next slide, please. All right, so query view versus view. Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. Query view versus jurisdiction view. Sorry about that. What we kind of refer now to as query view is what we actually used to call, we used to call this program Rapid Lite back in 2019. And then the product name was changed to RapidSOS Portal. But under the older format, every agency still had to query each call to get any location data that was associated with a phone number. So in 2020, we rolled out what we call jurisdiction view. That's going to be the picture on the right there. And again, not everyone is eligible for it. But what you might find, especially some of you agencies in California, is that you may already have an integration before it was required to create a portal account, or you might even have a portal account with query view and you just need to submit a shapefile to upgrade to jurisdiction view. We'll talk a little bit more here on in the presentation about shapefiles and how we get that jurisdiction view automatic push. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide and we'll take a look at jurisdiction view in a little more detail. So this is our latest kind of greatest enhancement, again, free as always for the RapidSOS portal that displays automatic data pushing on a map from all of your 911 calls within that agency's jurisdiction. So it's going to be all active and recent 911 calls, as well as enhanced location and additional data. So this provides incident awareness for all of the emergencies that are in your jurisdiction. You can quickly access all associated data with a call with a single click, no manual querying for agencies that are eligible for this. We're obviously automatically updating any caller location and additional data in real time, and you're able to just manage and prioritize multiple emergencies within a single dashboard. Next slide, please. So the RapidSOS Portal 911 caller location updates in real time as the caller moves, whether it's on foot or in a moving plane, train, automobile. The location's updating every 3 to 5 seconds as the caller moves at a 5-meter pace. So you're going to see this location history as the caller moves with what we call breadcrumbs, or updated location points where all the historical pins are red. So every time the call moves, the most recent pin is green or whatever, and you see those little red breadcrumbs behind it as it moves with the most recent update always showing in green. Next slide, please.
On the, you have time for a quick question?
Yes, go ahead, please, Tim.
On those breadcrumbs, what's once the call disconnects, do you know the time where they stop? Because I've watched calls where the pins just keep dropping for, and I didn't know if it was 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
That's a great question, Tim. Thank you. Sorry, I thought you were still going with that. So we can hold up to 50 calls at a time in the call queue or whatever. So up to 50 active calls, and those recent calls will stay. And Keith, please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's up to 30 minutes after the call is active. It will stay unless that number of 50 is surpassed. So if there's more and more calls coming in, they will drop off a little bit more quickly. But also if you're still interacting with the call or whatever, it will reset the timer and they will remain on the screen up to 30 minutes after you've last interacted with the call. Is that right, Keith?
Well, that is right, but I don't think that necessarily answers Tim's question.
Okay.
So Tim, you were asking about the breadcrumb trail continuing after the caller disconnects.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry.
Only
Okay,
what the call is.
Yeah, the way that works is the intent is from Apple and Google that data should stop when the disconnect happens. In actuality, what we have found out that is if somebody's typically on an Apple device, that the location will continue to report to us for a period of about a minute afterwards. So, or maybe even 2 minutes. I think you would know better because you see this data coming in every day. But it will continue for a very short time after the call, but it will end either at or shortly after the call is concluded. Does that resonate?
Yeah. It just sometimes we've seen it go, far beyond a minute, but that does. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Keith. And thank you, Tim. I apologize. I didn't understand your question correctly. I thought I knew what you were asking, but it was something else. And I saw even just on a Facebook post the other day, a caller talking about how long that breadcrumbing information was going on after the call was disconnected. So it does happen, like Keith said, more often than it's supposed to. And it can be kind of interesting and kind of helpful at times. So, okay, so some of the information on the standard call card that you're seeing here includes obviously the X and Y coordinates. There's an estimated address based on those coordinates. There's an uncertainty radius, which you can see on this card right here is only 5 meters, which is far more accurate and more concise than a lot of the uncertainty radius information that we receive from phase 2. So think about when you're pinging a phone, a search through the carrier or something like that in an exigent situation or whatever, doing a 911 trace. Sometimes that accuracy is up to like 60 meters. So 5 meters is pretty incredible, as you can see on this card here. And as of last month, we've also included on our standard data card what 3 words data that we'll look through in another slide here just a little bit later. Next slide, please. So in this slide here, you can see the historical location pins that we're talking about as the caller, starting on the right side of the screen as the caller travels west on the highway. They're going underneath the overpass, they're taking the exit, coming back around, and then going south on the highway. And you're seeing that most recent location pin in green. Next slide, please. I just want to mention here that we are operating off of Google Maps. So you've got access to not only this additional supplemental data, but the street or map or satellite view. You can interact with the map just like you're used to in Google Maps, since that's what we're running off of. Notice the little orange guy in the bottom right corner of the screen. You can drop and drag him to zoom down into street view and view more details about the area, such as descriptive building information, parking lots, fire hydrants, and a lot more. Next slide, please. This is just a very brief example here once you see them clicking on the individual call view, but you'll see some data cards here with some brief examples of additional data that you might see. And we're going to drill down on some more types of those later in this presentation. So again, here's all the 911 calls for an area. Once you click on one, it's going to drill down into just that call view. You'll see any location updating as that call is moving around on the screen. And then again, any other additional data or supplemental cards that are associated with that call. Next slide, please. All right, What Three Words? I just mentioned that. We're pleased to announce that we've partnered with What Three Words, and we rolled this out just a couple of weeks ago, where we now have that What Three Words location on every call's data card. And when the caller's location changes, those What Three Words references will update on each of those cards as well. Next slide, please. And we're going to turn it over to Keith here.
Okay, back to me. Yeah, Julie, thank you for that. And you hit on a lot of great stuff. You know, the uncertainty, for example, is important because it's so much better than alley typically. And just a reminder that, you know, if the alley that you see is static, right? So when you get a longitude, latitude in the alley, it does not change unless you do a rebid. And when that rebid occurs, the carrier is querying that phone for a new location, and it takes about 20 to 30 seconds for it to happen. And when it comes back, it's telling you where that device was 30 seconds ago. And at 60 miles an hour, that means they could be half a mile away. And that's the advantage of the breadcrumbing that we provide, because you can see the direction of travel, you can see the speed, you can interpret where they may be. You can use your own deductions to determine where they might be going. So, I mean, that's great. And the street view, in addition to satellite street view, actually, we will put the pin on the street view to show you where that caller is from the street level. I mean, just really great stuff. As far as situational awareness, this is a view of our jurisdiction view product. And this is an actual occurrence that happened while I was in the Sacramento PSAP doing training with them. And we were working from a clear screen with no pins. And all of a sudden, we started observing all of these pins drop along the business route of Highway 80 going through the middle of the city. And this turned out to be just one of the best examples of situational awareness that we could provide. I mean, for one thing, as you know, being from California, everybody, here in the state, we have dual primary PSAPs in the same jurisdiction. So if you have a freeway going through your city, then you have the California Highway Patrol answering the 911 calls in the vicinity of that freeway as the primary PSAP. And it's only when you get about a quarter mile from that freeway does the routing start going to the local PSAPs. And that's exactly what happened here. So even though we're sitting in the Sacramento 911 center observing these pins drop, none of these pins along the freeway rang in the 911 center. All of these calls were occurring within their jurisdiction, and their phone did not ring once. All of them went to the California Highway Patrol. So for the first time ever, an agency had visibility into an incident occurring, being handled by another agency. And it turns out none of those calls were transferred to them. They all got transferred to SAC Fire, because this represented a brush fire along the center median of the freeway. So no time At no time did they actually get a 911 call, but they knew something big was happening on the freeway that generated all of these different calls. And these aren't red pins, these aren't breadcrumbs that we're looking at. These are each individual 911 calls. One of the other things we learned during this very first implementation of Jurisdiction View, by the way, we're in 2,000 agencies now with Jurisdiction View. This is becoming ubiquitous. But Sacramento PD was one of our pilots. And one thing we learned is that these pins drop it's so fast that these pins are dropping on the map about 10 to 12 seconds before the phone rings, right? So the device is triggering 911 data to RapidSOS the moment somebody calls 911. We get the data, we show it on the map, just like that, but the carrier is still processing that call, right? Julie earlier was showing the pathway that the carrier has to go through and all the complexities of routing the call and determining the ESN and delivering it to your server, to your CPE server in the back room. And then 3 to 4 seconds later before it ever rings at the workstation. But we overcome that. We're able to show through Jurisdiction View these pins dropping on the map prior to the phone ringing. So imagine that this was coming into your center. You would see these pins dropping and you would know that your phones are about to light up. And the only way to understand that, to see that, is to have Jurisdiction View in your center, which is one reason we encourage all the primary PSAPs to get this. And I'll show you briefly how to make that happen. But that's some great situational awareness, knowing that your phones are about to light up. But you also can understand that you have a major situation occurring along the I-80 corridor here through Sacramento. And all of a sudden, this pin drops down here. And you can understand very quickly that whatever this guy's reporting probably has nothing to do with what's going on the freeway. And you can pick him out of your call queue and bypass, the 20, 30 calls coming in and seek out this phone number. Just by hovering over it, you'll know the phone number. You could find that in your CPE call queue and find out what this event is. And in this case, it was something different. This turned out to be an EMS event that needed an immediate response. They already understood what this was and could focus on this information. Here's one of the other great pieces about the situational awareness that Jurisdiction View offers for you. I'm sure you all remember on Christmas Day, there was a bombing in Nashville. So the AT&T building in Nashville was the target of that attack. And it's not widely known. It's not generally known that bombing, after the UPS batteries were exhausted a couple hours later, that the 911 infrastructure started to fail across 3 states. In Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky, 911 lines were down. We're talking dozens, if not hundreds of centers that were impacted. Thousands and thousands of 911 calls were not going through. But we were able to step up and offer our assistance in this situation. Now, most of those centers across those 3 states already had Jurisdiction View up and running in their centers. And for them, they were able to see right away, this was their fallback position. They're able to bring up Jurisdiction View and see all the calls plotting on the map. I'll go back and show this again and just say, imagine this was showing up on your map and you had a 911 outage. Your 911 was not ringing. Well, here's the calls right here. Now, for the first time ever, you have an opportunity to see where the calls are, hover over the pins and see the phone number and see the time that the call came in. And across 3 states, that's what they were using to proactively call people back in near real time and say, hey, we have an outage. We see that you tried to call 911. What are you reporting? And to the best of my knowledge, this is the only tool that's in existence today that 911 centers can use to achieve this level of awareness and actually playing. Bear with me. Sorry about that. To my knowledge, it's the only tool that you can use in your center today. That it's offered for free by RapidSOS, and it shows all these incoming calls. And it really saved the day for these 911 centers across these 3 states. And that outage lasted nearly 3 days. This is the tool that was used by those agencies. There were some agencies that didn't have jurisdiction view, and we were in contact with them almost immediately to tell them and explain to them the benefit, and worked with them in an exigent fashion to get them up and running within hours of this event occurring. And we've done that in the state, in California here several times, most recently around the wildfires that occurred last year, especially like the LNU lightning fires. Don Jones, who was on the call earlier, we reached out to him when there was a wildfire and said, Don, we need to get you jurisdiction view because your fire is moving rapidly. We want you to be able to see the patterns that emerge as people are trying to call. And we were able to put up an exigent account for him very quickly. But we would rather it not be done exigently. We'd rather be done in a planned fashion. And here's how we do it. In order to get, if you don't already have our service, this is what you do. You go to RapidSOSportal.com. And on that initial screen, there's an admin sign up, and you click in that and you fill out a form, which includes a user license agreement, which is largely around right to know, need to know. Give us a little information about your agency, what CAD, what phone you're using, confirm your email address, and then upload your jurisdictional boundary. And that's what was done here with Sacramento. We uploaded a boundary file, and then after that file is processed, for primaries, we are able to enable jurisdiction view. For a secondary, and for everybody else, we will enable the query view, which we showed you earlier. Normally, and this slide actually says 3 to 4 weeks, it's 3 to 4 weeks to get the jurisdiction view process complete. But in California, because of our relationship, our prior relationship with Rapid Deploy, every agency in California already has a basic boundary box that every PSAP already has this defined. So if you ask for RapidSOS Portal Query View or Jurisdiction View, we will give you Query View immediately. It actually takes about a day for us to enable that. And that's because we already have your boundary defined. It is the boundary, the precise shape file that's going to enable jurisdiction view. That'll take a few weeks. And when we process it, we add a 10-mile buffer around the boundary so that anything coming in within the boundary is automatic, but there could still be these edge cases, or perhaps you're tracking something that exits your jurisdiction. And we still give you that 10-mile buffer to be able to continue tracking outside the area. So what happens outside the boundary? Well, you have other folks, right, who partner. So if somebody goes out of Sacramento and into Yolo County, then Sacramento could call Yolo County for more information. But there are a couple agencies that have statewide boundaries. And if I was in that situation, I would be on the phone with California Highway Patrol. And I would say, California Highway Patrol, you have a statewide boundary. Help me track that somebody who's left my jurisdiction. And they will do it. One of the features that we offer along with RapidSOS Portal is our training center. So through the RapidSOS Portal, there's a tab to click, takes you into our training center, and we make it really easy to train all of your staff. Specifically, this Getting Started series offers quick videos around how Jurisdiction View works, how Query View works, and how our different partnerships work. And most of these videos are just 5 minutes long. Most agencies will ask their dispatchers to view it right from their workstation. And we make training so easy. And of course, there's quick tips and trainings around many of our partners as well. So we just try to make it as easy as possible for you to deploy this. Julie, Michael, did I miss anything on that before I hand it over to Jules?
Thanks, Keith. Yeah, I just wanted to mention on training. No, and thank you for your description of that. Yes, they're absolutely very short videos. 2 to 3 minutes. I think our longest one is like 6 minutes because we know how hard it is working the dispatch floor to get that kind of undivided attention. And even in a 2 or 3 minute video, you might get interrupted by a traffic stop or something like that. But we try to make them as short as possible. And I just want to mention that we did update recently our full user guide, our full admin guide for admins on their accounts, and all the other information, our partner information that's on there, so that everything is super current and up to date with the most recent screenshots possible. So thanks, Keith. All right, talking about additional data here, we're going to hustle through. We're almost to the end here, so I will be go as quickly as I can. But some of these call cards that you're seeing here on the screen, again, you're going to see more sample call cards here in relation to some of the additional data we provide on our current partners. I just want to point out that we try to make the cards as minimally kind of intrusive as possible, including only truly relevant data so the dispatcher is still able to see the map and the up-to-date call locations going on, as well as the call queue on the left. Next slide, please. In 2020, we partnered with the American Heart Association and the American Red Cross to set up emergencyhealthprofile.org. So think of like Medical Alert, right? And the Medical Alert bracelets and stuff, that is a paid subscription that people have to have that information available to first responders. So in 2020, again, we partnered with these great folks to set up emergencyhealthprofile.org, which is a free resource for community members where they can go and register and create their own absolutely free emergency profile with their own personal medical information and emergency contact information, so that that can be provided to 911 and first responders when their personal device associated with their phone number calls 911 in an emergency situation. Next slide, please. So you're going to see the data card here. This is an example. It's been updated since, but this is an example of a data card. And note, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, when we rolled this out, this was just starting then. So each profile does include the ability to note any positive COVID-19 symptoms or diagnoses or contacts at the time of registration. Of course, that's only as accurate as if they've been updating it, or it could be dated information, but important to know that's something that can be included for your community there. And we do have press kits available to this. So if you would like something from us that you could possibly reach out to your community on, please contact us for a press kit on emergency health free profile. I said this yesterday, Apple Medical ID and Language. I don't know where that's coming from. We partnered also back in 2020, we partnered further with Apple. We're already working with them on the location piece, right? But to push enhanced emergency data from iOS devices, so iPhone devices, through their health and medical ID app and feature, including language as well, to be shared to the portal when a device calls 911. However, this does require a couple of steps for each individual user to opt in on their own device. So this is not covered under their standard end user license agreement for Apple or whatever. This is something you have to go into the app and actually say, hey, I as an individual user do choose to share the information from this health ID, medical ID and health app with 911 and show it from my lock screen in the case of an emergency. So some of you might be like, oh, I remember doing that on my iPhone. You do have to do a couple more steps to actually push your medical ID information. Next slide, please. And so here you're going to see an information of an example of, oh, no, sorry, that was on the previous card, was the data card for that. With Android device language, though, Android is quite less restrictive than Apple as far as certain things that they push automatically. So Android device language is automatically pushed for all Android devices. And so what that means is when somebody calls 911 from an Android device, you're going to see the primary and or secondary language, if there's a secondary language set for that device, which a lot of times English or Spanish. However, if it is a foreign language or something that may not be as recognizable, like you might recognize a telecommunicator might hear Spanish and say, oh, I know I need Spanish translation for that. If you're hearing, maybe a language like Japanese or Chinese or Korean, where it's an Asian language, but you can't tell exactly which language it is or which dialect or something like that, you would actually be able to see from an Android device what language the device is set to, because they're obviously not going to operate their device in a language that they can't read. So it's pretty awesome that as the telecommunicators might be able to see secondary languages that are set, or it might be set in English, but it's also set in a secondary language of a foreign language. And telecommunicators can see that and ask for that if they're requesting language line services, if the person's unable to tell them what language it is that they need translation services for. Data from connected vehicles. We are partnering with companies Go ahead and hit the next slide here to get telematics information. So data from connected vehicles, telematics, and real-time car crash situational data. Next slide, please. So with partners like SiriusXM and Farmers TrueMotion, verified crash information and verified requests for emergency services may appear in the portal in additional data cards. And so you can see the SiriusXM card here. Go ahead and hit the next slide here so we can see the Farmers TrueMotion card. The dispatchers should still also be receiving the routine calls from the monitoring centers to the PSAPs like they usually do that request emergency services, but know that you might see additional data cards as that data pushes into the portal after it's been verified by the monitoring center. So information that might be included would be descriptive vehicle information, make, model, color, license plate number, license plate state, impact details, so head on, rear end, rollover, airbag deployment for either the driver or the passenger rows, and more. So that's pretty neat what kind of information we're getting through telematics. Next slide, please. Data from connected apps. Next slide, please. Uber. We're just going to basically touch on Uber, which is one of our huge partnerships here. We partnered with Uber last year to power the safety shield that's within the Uber app. So most of you have taken an Uber before at some point in your life. Now, when you're traveling on a trip, whether you are the driver or the passenger, you are able to request emergency assistance inside the Uber app, which then makes a native call from the device to 911, pushing the information about that trip through to the RapidSOS portal. So for any Uber trip where they make that 911 connection, not just dialing 911 and calling, but through the Uber app, which then forces an actual voice call to 911, you're going to get the information, which would be the descriptive information of the vehicle, updated location as it's moving, and information on whether it's the rider or the passenger, and the name of the rider or the passenger coming through from the app as well. Next slide, please. Some of the things, and again, I know we're getting tight on time here, but data from connected buildings and smart homes right now is absolutely incredible. Some of these partners we're working with. So in this slide right here, this is 911 Inform. And this information is also going to come through to RapidSOS portal if there's something in place. The photo that the little picture they're showing down in the bottom left corner of the screen, this is a hospital, but my brief interaction with this was really neat. One time it was actually a school, and I interacted with one of our partners that works with 911 Inform, and he showed me how easy it was to use. So he sent me just a text on my cell phone. I was able to click on it, and an image like you're seeing right there in the bottom left portion of the slide came up, where I was able to just click on doors to lock them and unlock them. So it was an imaginary school shooting situation where I had to unlock the northeast corner of the building, the gym doors, the SWAT team let them in, lock the doors behind them once they had come into the building, and then start marking classrooms cleared, and marking them clear if they found nothing, marking if we'd found like an explosive device, and if there was an estimated blast reader, it would actually pinpoint out what classrooms all or what areas there in the area of where the device was found that it would impact, with a blast meter of, or blast radius of 30 meters or something like that. So it's absolutely incredible what kind of building plans and things that we're getting built in with our partners. And all of this information is logging in some kind of tactical situation so that there are records later when they're going after, the after incident action plan or whatever, when they're going over all that, it's all being logged. Next slide, please.
And that was 911 Inform?
That's 911 Inform is one of our partners for connected buildings. Yes, we've got a couple.
Okay. Wow. You just blew my mind open here with opening and closing doors by clicking on the Rapid portal. Now, does it also have an integration for cameras where you can click on specific cameras on school grounds?
I can't answer that 100% sure with 911 Inform, but I'm pretty sure. Yes, Keith.
You can make it up.
No, I don't like to make things up. Keith says yes, so that's good. And I certainly imagined it would. I want to also look at a couple other partners we have after this slide here, which are.
And you're doing fine for time. You don't have to rush. You're doing great.
Thank you. We're almost the end. Keith, can I have the next slide, please?
Absolutely. There you go.
So we have Safe Zone, and we also have Zero Eyes, which you will see in the next slide. But for Safe Zone, really quick, if you could go back to Safe Zone, please. They partner with us to connect gunfire detection technology. So you can see on the data card here, it's actually referencing how many shots it's heard fired. So think of, and this is just something that's not a current partner for us, but I've seen it in other 911 centers. ShotSpotter is one of those big programs or whatever. So this, like ShotSpotter, not the same partner. We don't partner with ShotSpotter, but this one will count weapon shots detected. So shot count is 1 here. And also what kind of weapon it thinks it's coming from. So a shotgun or a handgun or a rifle or something like that. Pretty amazing what kind of partner information is available to us in the portal now. Go ahead with the next slide, Keith. And this one is even more amazing to me. This one's called Zero Eyes, and what it does, Zero Eyes partners with existing camera systems that are built into commercial campuses, high schools, hospitals, things like that, existing cameras that are already in place to detect weapons. So it's actually detecting the physical outline of a weapon. So whether it's a active shooter walking up in front of the school carrying a long rifle, either in front of them or slung over on their back, it's picking up on the shape of that, and it is alerting authorities within the school or possibly law enforcement authorities when weapons are detected. It's following some kind of plan that's set in place. So, and it's not even just detecting, large rifles, it's also small guns, handguns. It could be the SRO possibly walking in, and he's supposed to be there with he or she with a weapon on their hip or something like that. But, there's different incident action plans in place for that kind of thing. But also it can also even identify knives and other types of weapons that aren't just firearms. So like I said, some pretty cool stuff that's coming our way. Next slide, please. And that takes us to the ends of kind of just the types. We wanted to give you guys a brief overview of the additional data partners that we have. We have lots more partners, but those are just some different types of data that we are providing. What kind of questions do you guys have for us? And we're all just going to kind of jump in.
I have a question. Let me apologize in advance. I was on a call at the beginning of your presentation. So when I jumped on and you had mentioned what 3 words, had you already sort of talked about that a little bit? And if not, can you do that for the people on the call? Because I think it's so great.
Absolutely. And Keith, I'm looking up that slide number for you, which might not be exact, but Keith, it's about slide 27-ish, might be 26.
You're able to do that.
That's a great question. So let me just talk about it super quick. So what 3 words is automatically built into every data card now? So with the X and the Y coordinates, and this is not additional data, right? This is our standard data card for every single 911 call that comes to the platform. You're going to see the what 3 words location. So those are 3 words for anyone that's not familiar with 3 words. There are 3 English words that are assigned to every 3 meter by 3 meter square in the entire world. So that's a 10 foot by 10 foot square, right? There we go on the slide here. So you can see them on the data card. The ones for this exact location on the west side of Sunnyside Gardens Park here are cuts, down, member. And so those are going to update too. So if the caller is moving all throughout the park, every time they move out of that 10 foot square box, those 3 words are going to update as they move, and you're going to get the updated 3 words. And what 3 words is still really new. They're still trying to kind of gain awareness to the public that this is something they can use to help first responders figure out where they're at, but also try to gain awareness of public safety agencies, what they do. But if responders have the app on their phone, they can either they can scan it right from the slide. So like I could scan the slide on the screen as long as it's typed in the right format, or first responders could scan it from their CAD, the comments on their CAD, and be able to pull up the map that's actually going to help them find that person on their own devices, or at least the dispatchers are able to find solving the location challenge by finding an exact area into something where a street address does not help, a large geographic national park, something like that, helping pin down that location further. Does that help, Scott?
Yeah, that was perfect. When we got that, I was so excited about it. It's amazing. So I just want to make sure everybody knew what that was.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to expand on that.
What center are you affiliated with?
I'm sorry, I'm with San Bernardino County Sheriff.
Oh, okay. So you work with Kim and those folks over there.
Yep.
Awesome organization. And Kim was actually one of the early folks who asked us about what 3 words probably 6 months ago, and encouraging us to form that partnership. And it was because of her input that we started to accelerate our intent here to partner with them. Yeah, we're proud to be to have that affiliation. And in your county, and in many counties, of course, it's search and rescue where this is going to come in, right? So now you have search and rescue people out in the field who we can't be dictating these 10-digit longitude latitude numbers to them and expect them to be able to note them, plot them, but we can give them 3 words very easily, right? For them to follow along and try and find somebody to be rescued. I keep what 3 words on my device. It's so easy to use. And we have now pushed this out over the last 3 weeks to every 911 center to be able to get this data. And coming soon will be the will be the ability to actually enter in a query of the 3 words and have it return the location to you. I mean, it's going to be very
Exciting.
powerful.
Exciting. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So
Anybody else have some questions? Tim?
that Zero Eye, is that available today, or is that coming in the future?
Zero Eyes is, well, that's an RM question, Julie. I should let you take that.
So go ahead. Actually, I don't know a whole lot about where we're at in that process, if you do.
The short answer is yes, it's available today. Zero Eyes is one of our existing partners. They like 911 Inform, like our relationship with another company called CRG, Critical Response Group. They typically partner with commercial and institutional entities in your communities, like a school or a Walmart or something like that, to be able to use that technology. It's very possible that they don't have a presence in your community at all. And it would only be by contacting those organizations, CRG, 911 Inform, Zero Eyes, and asking them if their technology is active in your jurisdiction. And I kind of lost track of your question. Was I even close there?
Oh yeah, no, you nailed it. Just Keith, you nailed it out of the park. And just to be clear, Kim is lucky enough to work with Scott. That's how that works.
Okay. Wonderful. Anybody else, please?
Keith, do you mind putting the contact information slide up? And then I've also put
yeah.
your contact information into the chat too, so anybody can either take a picture of their screen or just copy and paste off of that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Any questions? That's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Keith, Julie, and Michael. That was an amazing presentation and dispatch tool.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for allowing us.
Thank
Appreciate
you.